I bought a boat. Welcome to another episode of Aftermarket, and in this video I'm revealing my second latest purchase, and it is the total opposite of the Mini Cooper that is beside me. And I always loved Holden. It's kind of like my guilty pleasure because about 10 years ago when I had my Evo, the Evo was off the road doing some works and I needed a car for a daily. And one of my colleague at the time had a VT that he was about to put it up on eBay just for a parts car because it's quite a beat up. I've picked up that car for $300. It's done about 400,000 kilometers. It was on its second engine. I absolutely loved that car, even though it's a VT executive with the V6, but it was still couch on wheels. And so at a point, I really wanted a V8 with the LS1, and I really like the Bogan limo. This is the ultimate luxury of the 2000s. You have the S-Class or you have the 7 Series. Why not this? This has all the bells and whistles. It is really comfortable. Is it just me, or there's something about this car that is just so elegant and I love it? If you have a bit of money to spend to get a better one instead of just a Commodore, this is the one. It is the cheapest Holden V8 in Australia at this time, and it is the cheapest Statesman in Australia. I'm going to review what I paid for this car, and I will show you exactly what's wrong with it because there are some things wrong with it. And I will take you for a drive and I'll tell you what I like and I don't like about this car, and basically give you guys a tour of my new car. Now, starting the tour of my boat, now this is a 2004 WL Statesman, and Statesman is the lower version of the Caprice, and obviously like this is like the long wheelbase, the stretched out version of a Commodore with the suit, if you will. So this is basically like the top of the range that you can get, the most luxurious GM products that you can get in Australia in 2004. This is equipped with two trims. There's the V6 version and there's the V8 version, which actually came with an LS1 GEN3 that actually it is the same engine from a Camaro. So you have a Australian car with a American engine, basically. Now, in terms of pricing, I paid $6,000 for this car, making this the cheapest WL Statesman in Australia. Now, they are going for roughly around $8,000 to $10,000. It depends on the condition. It depends on how many kilometers that is on this car, and it has done 285,000 kilometers. Now, and as you can see, like it is actually really well taken care of. Now, I bought it from a grandpa, and so it is literally grandpa spec, and that's really it is really clean, unmolested. Now, it is one of the last survivors of the V8 Holdens. Now, obviously, being the cheapest on the market, there are some things wrong with it. To be honest, there's nothing much that I dislike about this car. This car has been really good, and there's really nothing much for me to roast on other than being it a boat. Well, which rightfully so, because you know, like it is meant to be luxurious. So obviously, like you have the headlights really fading out. There's condensation in the headlights, which means there's some like the seal has probably broken. This side is really faded as well. So I don't know if I can restore it. I'm hoping that I can, because if I can't restore it, a pair of really clean headlights is like $1,200. So fingers crossed. Paint is not peeling. It's there are some faded spots, which I'm fairly confident that with the paint correction we can actually get it buffed out. There's some water stains here. Tires are good, brakes are good. Overall, it is actually really clean. Guided, I bought it from here, actually takes care of this car really well. And as you can see, even 285,000 kilometers, it doesn't look like it. So moving on to the interior, first thing I want to point out is like these doors. Oh man, like this is what I'm talking about. The quality of this. This is quality stuff. For 285,000 kilometers, now the condition is actually really good, and it is actually really well taken care of. There's a bit of wear and tear on the leather. It is okay, and again, like, it's not really like the wear and tear is actually really good. The interior is actually like, it has more bells and whistles than the normal Commodore. Now, one interesting thing is also like the keys. Now, I haven't seen this in years, right? And every single Holden has the buttons ripped out because the rubber buttons are so weak, and it just falls out of place. But you know, like, it just looks ugly. I might get a replacement. This era, like, there's actually nothing much going on tech-wise. In terms of comfort, oh, it is so good. Like, this seats, oh, this is what I'm talking about. It's basically couch on wheels. And my favorite part of this car is it is actually the back seat. Now, the amount of room, it's basically a living room back here, and like the amount of room of activities that you can do, like, you can literally lie down and it is like a couch basically, and there's a lot of rooms for activities. Imagine if you just put down the seats a little bit, you know, like, you could literally have, it's like, you don't even need a hotel. You can do all your stuff in the backseat, if you know what I mean. So the backseat is actually one of my favorite parts of the car, not so much on the front seat. I think the front seat is more a like it's just general Commodore stuff, but the backseat is where it is. Like, this car is meant for you to be chauffeured around, and oh man, like, these seats, this is like a couch. I could take this car out somewhere and I would just sit at the back, maybe take it to a beach, and I can just sit at the back and just watch the view, right? It is just so spacious back here. This is awesome. Let's move to the front. This car is just made for road trip, and this car, I'll be making this car my interstate car because I drive to Melbourne quite often, and this is the car that I'm gonna take because I don't want to be cramped into my little hatches. I want to drive on country roads just like this and just go, right? Other than that, you know, like 285,000 kilometers, there's nothing really much to say. You have your basic 4-speed automatic, you have pathetic cup holders, you have some storage space, and this basically drives like a dinosaur. Now, let's start the car, and there's a few interesting things. Now, the moment when you start the car, you have the airbag error. Now, the moment you start this car, the antenna, it erects to the air. It's sort of like telling you, like, all right, sir, right now, we are ready for you to drive. This is actually quite interesting, and there's actually a lot of really interesting thing as well. If you go to the odometer, you can see the average fuel. Now, 16.2 liters per 100 kilometers. I actually just drive in the city. I haven't even took it out on the highway. You can cycle through different modes, and it tells you in 3 different screens what's going on. A lot of trip computers, they only give you to 100 meters. This actually goes down to 0.00, which means 10 meters of each distance. So instead of saying like, oh, you know, like, you have traveled 104.8 k's, you travel 4.89 kilometers on the trip distance A, which is really interesting. Cycling through different modes, you have trip distance B, on that distance to empty, and your speedo. So really basic stuff. You have your radio and your CD player here. I don't intend to retrofit a Apple CarPlay because I want to retain as original as possible. Now, moving on to the bonnet of this car, because this is where the main party trick is. That's the stuff. This is the main thing. This is the main reason why I bought this car. It's for its V8 LS1 V8 GEN3. It's completely stock. It's completely unmolested. It is very well taken care of. I bet you are, like, I am definitely going to modify it. Alright, let's go for a drive. there we go. One thing about the V8 is there's a lot of low-end front. Just there's a saying, there's no replacement for displacement, and you know, in some, even though on paper car might make the same figures, the same horsepower, the same torque, but compared to a 4-cylinder to a V8, it is just different. It's not about the power per se, it is about the feeling. It is about the emotion that a lot of newer cars, and especially EVs, they just can't replicate. Driving an old school Aussie V8, it's something that it is now lost. It's kind of sad that we can no longer get a Holden V8 rear-wheel drive, a true luxury car like this anymore. These days you would just get, we have Chinese cars, and to be honest, to me, like, I don't like Chinese cars, and I think they are just a plague in the Australian car market. This is so sluggish. It has the torque, but at the same time, it feels like a boat. The ultimate guide to drive Holdens. Lean back like a couch and just steer with one hand on the armrest, and one hand just steering, and if permitted, do a skid. Okay, let's talk about the things that is wrong with this car. Number one, the headlights. The headlights, it needs to be fixed. It needs to be restored. I might have to pay for like a new pair of headlights, which is $1,200. I don't know. All right, the accessory belt is squeaking. Only when it's cold. During when it's hot, it sort of goes away. The aircon doesn't work. Well, I don't know why, but a lot of, even my VT Commodore, the aircon doesn't work. Apparently the condenser is leaking, so hopefully that's just that. There's a knocking at the back. I don't know if it's the diff, if it's the CV shaft. Apparently the mechanic went through with it and they couldn't figure out what's going on, and it all looks good, so I don't know. I'm hoping not the diff. And it's just a few little things here and there that I gotta really take care of. I'll probably do a full engine flush, transmission, and the diff. Other than that, it's actually pretty straightforward. There's nothing really wrong with this car. It's just little stuff that I was able to bargain it to pay this car at $6,000. Now, the thing about the Australian car market now, people are just not buying cars at the moment, and now is actually a buyer's market. It's not so much of a seller's market. If you want to buy a car, now is a good time because you can actually snatch up a lot of good deals like this. This guy's only $6,000, and I really couldn't believe this. Overall, I really like this car. This is going to be my road trip car. In terms of the things I do not like about this car, I actually don't have any. I have nothing to roast other than, you know, like there's a few little things here. It's actually really hot. The aircon doesn't work. Little gremlins here and there, but other than that, I really have no complaints. Now, the plans for this car, it'll probably cost maybe a couple of grand to sort it all out. In terms of plans for this car, I'm gonna do a full exhaust on it because it's just too tame. It's too quiet. You can't really hear the V8 rumble, right? I want to hear the LS1 roaring away through the streets. This car just doesn't have that. Exhaust, maybe a OTR. OTR means over the radiator intake, which means you get a cool air intake. I might get that. And a tune, so I'm hoping to push right around 400 horsepower. So that's basically the goals for this car, and just to make it as grandpa spec as possible. I'm not gonna lower it. I'm not gonna do any crazy stuff, right? I want this to be grandpa spec. I want this to be a sleeper, and I want this to be an awesome cruiser. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. If you have any insights about these cars, just let me know down in the comments. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and show us some support. And I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.